Mika's live stream. I'm Bill Anderson. I think you know that already. And I was due, well, actually, the live stream was due to be led by Daniela Wenk this evening, and her guest is Alan Boardman. Welcome, Alan.
Hi, Bill. How are you?
I'm well. Unfortunately, Daniela isn't. Uh, she was determined to try and do it, but I was a bit concerned that she might pass out halfway through it because her little boy started nursery 2 weeks ago, and I think both she and Jess have been sort of ill ever since. I think every time he comes back from nursery, he's got another bug or virus or whatever.
Yeah.
So she's really not very great, but she has prepared lots of things for us for tonight. So Alan. It's really nice to see you. I mean, we're kind of in contact from time to time, but our paths haven't crossed that much recently. How are you doing?
Yeah, I'm really good. Thank you very much. Yeah, the walking tours, which is obviously principally what we're talking about tonight, is really taken off and has kept the momentum. So that's really keeping me busy. I mean, I think you and I are in touch on Facebook more than anything else. So it's nice to see that
Yeah.
you actually exist in real life.
Well, there's a fact. You're actually talking to a hologram at the moment. So, Alan, we are indeed going to be talking about the walking tours, um, but you know the actual raising money for charities for the walking tours, is that a relatively recent thing that you've done?
Well, it's something I did do the walking tours as a kind of a business offshoot.
Sure.
Somebody asked me on a walking tour actually a few weeks ago how long I'd been doing them, and I kind of guessed at it. But then when I got back home, I had a look to see how long it had actually been, and I astonished to see that it was 8 years.
Wow.
Yeah. And so what I used to do was to, if you like, pitch as a business
Mhm.
to international tourists, to visitors to southern Spain via TripAdvisor
Yeah.
principally. And I used to charge a set fee or ask for a set fee of €15,
Mhm.
and did very nicely. But then, of course, COVID came along, and as you know, living in Mijas, Mijas is a municipality built principally on one economic pillar, and i.e., tourism.
Indeed, yeah.
The village, the historical village of Mijas, just died. I mean,
Sure.
basically, and so the walking tours just stopped. And then it occurred to me that actually maybe I could start to do these for charity.
Yeah.
And so I started to do these for charity in March of last year.
Mm.
And because it was for charity, rather than ask for a set fee, I just asked for a minimum donation of €5. And to be fair, some people do pay that. It's a case of what people can afford and on what they think it's worth. But
Yeah.
the average donation is somewhere between €10 and €12.50. So that's the way that it's developed, and it's kind of taken on a life of its own over the last 18 months, and to the point now where we are consistently supporting local charities every couple of months.
Yeah. And yeah, I mean, I think it wouldn't come as news to people that a lot of the charitable organizations, many of whom are not supported by local authorities, for example, went through a very, very hard time during all these restrictions. And even just, getting the money, whether it was a horse charity for the hay or a dog charity or whatever, they found it very difficult to do the usual fundraising, didn't they? And this was one way that you thought of, I don't know, compensating for that.
Yeah, it was a horrible time all round for charities because, of course, as you say, the vast majority get no support here in Spain at any governmental level.
Mm,
And so they were asking for help, with donations at a time when everyone was struggling. You know, businesses were struggling, people were struggling, and of course there was the added whammy of Brexit around about the same time.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, so just at the time when charities really did need as much help as they could get, all the portents were against them really. So yeah, that's really, you're right. That's what really drove me to think about supporting these different charities, and so that's what I've done ever since.
So I'm not going to get you to tell your Mijas secrets, Alan. Your lips are sealed.
They are absolutely sealed. You'll have to pay to come on the tour. Actually, it's notable, Bill, that you're one of the few people that hasn't been on the tour yet.
I know. I haven't, Alan. I've been up in Mijas Pueblo more times than I can remember. But in fact, I'm up there tomorrow, and we're back up there next Wednesday. And I'm up and down from the Pueblo all the time, but I haven't actually taken the time. Maybe it's just that I'm a mean so and so, you know. No, it's not that actually.
You can say that. I couldn't possibly comment.
No, it would be a nice thing to do, Alan. It's just for me, it's just getting something in the diary, and then I get it in the diary, and then 2 days before that, somebody from the council says you've got a meeting tomorrow morning or whatever. You know, it's like, oh, it's a bit crazy.
Yeah,
Anyway,
listen. We've known each other a long time. I'm joshing with you. I know you're a very, very busy guy, but anytime that you and Vicky can find the time to come along, just give me a shout and I'll fit you in.
sure, we will. Listen, Alan, Daniela, but Daniela and yourself very kindly put together a number of things. Um, I don't know if you'd like to start just by looking at some of the photos from the walking tours. We've got some nice photos here, and then we'll talk a little bit about the charities that you've been supporting and to what extent they have been supported. And I think we'll see that, you know, as the months have gone on, the amount of money that you're collecting on a sort of month by month basis has gone up as well, hasn't it?
Yeah, I mean, Daniela did me a real favor actually when, as part of her preparation for this program, that she asked me to compile the amounts that have been raised throughout the months, and I mean, astonishingly, I hadn't really thought of coming up with a cumulative number, and I
Right.
basically. What I do, or what my wife Jenny does, is to keep a spreadsheet of the donations for each charity, but then when we get to the end of the month or the 2 month period that we're supporting a particular charity, we come to a total and then we put it to bed and then we move on to the
Sure.
next nominated charity. And so
But
when I did this piece of work for Daniela, I was absolutely astonished to see what the running total has been since we started in
we're
March
gonna
of last
keep
year.
we're gonna keep people in suspense on this one at the moment, Alan. Listen, here are some of the photos. If people haven't seen them on Facebook, we've got a nice selection of photos. If you want to tell us where some of these little corners are, it might be interesting.
Yeah, well, the one on screen right now is in a restaurant in the historical centre. That one, yeah, a historical centre of Mijas. It's called Aroma, the Secret Garden.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
And I take people in there literally just to show people, well, a few things actually. One is that it is a super restaurant. In the middle of the historical centre of Mijas, but also to show them the extent of the properties, the size of the properties
Yeah,
behind what is actually quite a modest front door, and it's got one or two architectural features in there as well, which are worth mentioning.
yeah, it is interesting, isn't it, that there are a number of restaurants in the old part of the city that look like tiny little bars with you know 2 or 3 tables, and then you go through and out the other end, and it's quite amazing what space they actually have, and outdoor space as well. Okay, here's another photo. Um,
Yeah, that one is There is. We end the tour actually on top of a 14th century Muslim watchtower, and
Right.
that photograph is taken just at the foot of it. So I always take a photograph or two of the group, and try to take it in different parts of the village as a memento.
Okay. And here are some steps that I recognize.
Yeah, well, if you were to take that group away from that photograph, that is what I always say to the walking tours. For me, the most scenic photograph in the whole of Mijas, which is really saying something, because behind there you've got, like you say, the steps down in a typical Andalusian street. You've got the tower of the parish church of Mijas, the Church of the Immaculate Conception, and ahead of it you've got the wall of one of the walls of the Mijas bull ring, which has got a story all of its own. So
Mm.
that's quite an iconic position in Mijas to take a photograph, and it is one of those parts of Mijas that I would say over 99% of visitors to the village never get to see, because it's really not far away from the tourist trail, but far enough that people don't usually don't find it.
Right. Here we got some other ones here. One of the pedestrianized areas, which is it pedestrianized this, or there's still cars going up and down in donkey carts?
Yeah, I think that's. I'm struggling to see it actually, but I think that's Calle San Sebastian.
Okay.
I think.
I can bolster it a little bit.
Yeah, that's Calle
Let
San
me check it.
Sebastian.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, here's a picture from the past from 1925. A view of the past. Plaza
Yeah,
de la
one of the
Libertad.
things that we look at, the Mijas government, local government, about 8 or 9 years ago, commissioned a series of 20 black and white photographs that they superimposed on the walls of Mijas
Mm,
in various parts. And it really they're there to demonstrate the changes in Mijas over the last 100 years or so. And that one is a view from Plaza Constitucion, and so outside of the old town hall,
that's
and that
right.
dates back to 1925. But there are, again, as I say, another 19 of these which
Mm,
demonstrate the massive changes that have
sure.
been made in Mijas. In some instances, and in other instances, Bill, hardly any changes at all, but
Well,
largely based on the impact of tourism
yeah,
since the mid
I was
1960s.
going to just say that, Alan, that yeah, I mean, things have changed since the 1920s there, but I would recognize that street and those buildings without any problem, you know?
Yep,
Uh,
yep,
so yeah, a lot of changes, but a lot of things still the same as well.
absolutely.
Oh, here we got something here, and this was a donation that you were giving to Deborah.
Yeah, that's right. For
Deborah
people who
Delaunay.
don't know, Deborah is a charity based in Marbella, but operates all the way along the Costa del Sol and internationally as well. And they support children who were born with a quite remarkable skin condition, which renders their skin so fragile that they can hardly bear to be touched, and they're known colloquially as butterfly children. So it's a marvelous charity, and this was a charity I supported earlier this year. I think we made around just over €400 for them, and I popped along to the headquarters in Marbella to give them the donation.
Okay, got a nice view of the coast here. I don't know who this guy is that's standing there, but he must have sort of been a sort of photo bomber or something, yeah?
He's an imposter.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's where we start. That's where we start the tour. Actually, I always start the tour right there, because it gives a panoramic view of Mijas, of the whole of Mijas, and obviously its proximity to the Mediterranean Sea, and it's there where I do a 10 or 15 minute scoot through the history and the geography of Mijas, taking care not to put too much detail in it in case people fall asleep in the first 10 minutes.
Yeah, we got another one here.
Yeah, no, that's a really interesting one. That is taken in one of the places that the tours visit. It's not just a street walk. This is a true artisan center, hidden away on one of the streets in Mijas, that very few people that have come onto this tour have ever heard of. It's called Puerta del Ágora, and it is a true artisan center. When you go to a tourist destination, you very often see the words, don't you? Made locally, handmade, artisan, things like that. And then you get it home to find that it was probably made in China or somewhere. But this is a true artisan workshop, and there are principally four very talented people that work there, hand make everything that they do, and they're very happy for me to take groups in there, not to sell to them, absolutely not at all. They are very happy just to have the exposure to, if you like, the expat market, because as I said, so few people know that they exist. But I do know that a good number, we're talking 30 or 40 people over these 18 months, have been back there once they've seen what the artisans do to place orders and give support to the centre.
We've got a nice comment from Michael here, who's saying Lara, whom I presume is his daughter, and the whole school, St. Anthony's, played football for 24 hours for this charity. And I think we're talking about the butterfly children. So well done to Lara and St. Anthony's. That's quite an achievement, wasn't it?
Brilliant. Well done, you. Thank you. Fabulous. Yeah.
Okay. What else have we got here? Oh. I think
that you might wonder why somebody would take that. That was a guy actually on the last tour who took that photograph, and the reason is, and I won't give the secret away, that in 2019 that photograph, without me in it, should I say, became the most photographed spot in the whole of Mijas.
Yes, yeah, I remember it. Yeah.
So I tell people that whole story, but obviously I'm not going to tell it here.
Yeah, but that's one seriously dodgy looking character there, isn't it? With the umbrella in the sun and.
Yeah. I mean, when I was wearing a dress, I'd be a witch, wouldn't
I? Okay, what do we got here?
Well, there we've got the famous church of San Sebastian, right in the very heart of the historical centre of Mijas.
Yeah, nice. And you've got some nice TripAdvisor comments, Alan. Extensive knowledge, learning a great deal. That's very nice. It's you don't do it for these things, but it's nice when you get them, isn't it?
Yeah, I did say I think about 2 weeks ago that I never post favourable reviews on my Facebook page or the Mijas Walking Tours Facebook page, because it's not about promoting me, but yeah, it is great to see those. I don't very often get anything on the TripAdvisor page now, because that was really back in the day when I was promoting to international tourists. But on the Facebook pages, I get loads and loads of fabulous feedback from the lovely people that come on the walks. They're very appreciative of what they've seen, and I think that one of the most what's the word I'm looking for? One of the things I appreciate most is when people in the village who have lived in the village or close to the village for a
Sure.
good number of years, up to 20 years, come on the tour. And then they say, "My goodness, I had no idea about this or about that." That's really good when that kind of thing happens.
Sure. So, Alan, I'm going to just run us through some of the associations that you have been working with or raising money for, I should say. And then we're going to look at how much money you actually raised for each one. And this is since 2021. Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh, and then we'll look at what your grand total was because it's actually very impressive. Okay. So let's have a look. We've got um, Adintre. If you want to tell us just very briefly, if it's not obvious, what these charities do.
Yeah, Adintre is basically a food bank run by a lovely lady called Joyce down in Fuengirola. And when I got involved with this charity, it just really brought home to me the scale of the problem of homelessness along the Costa del Sol and of people who just didn't have enough money to feed themselves, basically. So Joyce provides this walk-in centre. For people who know Fuengirola, it's just to the top of the ferry ground in Fuengirola, and people can go in there and get a hearty meal for free.
Right.
And so that was one of the early charities that came our way.
Okay. The food fairies. This is a very historical thing, isn't it? Because it was set up during the C word pandemic.
Yeah, and kind of, if you like, similar to Adintre, really, because it touches on this time families who maybe can just about keep a roof over their heads, but can't properly afford to feed their families.
Mm,
And there's an incredible lady called Kyra J who established the food fairies. Again, it's towards Marbella, but they come certainly as far as Fuengirola and Benalmádena,
right.
delivering parcels of food, as I say, to families that otherwise would struggle to feed their families. It's a quite remarkable situation, really.
Okay. Codeca, I think that probably needs no explanation, Alan, because I think most people around here will know what Codeca is. So very briefly.
Yeah, well, certainly for people along the Costa del Sol, but anyone that's watching further afield might not. In fact, I know that some people don't know. Codeca is the prominent cancer um, charity here on the Costa del Sol, and they actually have a hospice with 9 rooms in Benalmádena, where they undertake palliative care for terminal cancer cases, but they also make home visits. And
Mm,
I do know of quite a few people personally who have benefited from the care and attention that the Qudeca doctors and nurses provided to their relatives in their final days and weeks.
okay. Last Chance Animal Rescue.
Yeah, that's what I try to do is keep a balance between, if you like, human charities and animal charities.
Sure.
Along the Costa del Sol, there are actually probably as many as 20 or more animal charities. It's very difficult to know which one to support.
Right.
But this is one that I supported last year, run by a great guy called Joe. If you're listening, Joe, hi. And they do great work in taking in stray cats and dogs and caring for them, and if possible, rehoming.
Adana.
Yeah, Adana, another animal charity, this time based down in Estepona. And the timing of this one was crucial because there was a massive fire. Don't know if you remember it, Bill,
Oh, yes.
last year. course you do, yeah. And about two-thirds of their premises were wiped out. Thankfully, none of the animals were affected. They managed to find foster homes for the majority of them. But at the time when I was raising funds for them was just at the time they needed it.
Yeah,
So I was very happy to pitch in with a
yeah.
little help.
I also had Dana on my radio show talking about it not long after the fire, so yeah.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
the Cruz Roja, I think that's, they may not know Kudeca, but I think most people will know the Cruz Roja, the Red Cross, yeah.
Yeah, that's right. And this was specifically to support the Mijas branch of the Red Cross. Um, obviously they do amazing work. What really drove me to support them back in June was the work that they were doing in Ukraine,
Right,
because they were sending immense amount of personnel and food parcels to help the people of Ukraine. So that was quite an easy one to decide, really.
sure. Aged Care Association.
Yeah, it's hello Pam and hello Maggie and hello Tom if you're all listening. Yeah, the AIDS Care do tremendous work down in Calahonda. They provide support to older citizens of any nationality, although I have to say predominantly English speaking, as I understand it. They have a charity shop down there. They work tirelessly to help people get through bureaucracy and medical situations. So, a tremendous charity to have been able to help.
Okay, and we actually had, it's Susan, isn't it,
It is, yeah, yeah.
um, on the live stream? Oh, it must be more than a year ago, or about a year ago, um, from Search.
Yeah, it actually came up on my Facebook memories only, I think, 2 days ago that you did the interview
Yeah,
with Sue. And I'll be honest, this is one which is quite close to my heart because Sue's such a lovely lady. And she runs this sanctuary for either abandoned or maltreated horses
mm,
just outside of Coeen, which for people who don't know, is around about 10 miles away from Mijas. And with a very small band of volunteer helpers, she takes in these cases and gives them all sorts of care and attention. She's an expert horsewoman. She knows exactly what she's doing. And the idea then is to move them on to a forever home, which
sure.
she does very successfully. But you can probably imagine that the care of horses is particularly expensive,
Yeah, yeah.
and so and she dedicates her life to it. So she really does deserve all the support that she can get.
And we've got Payasos de Hospital, the hospital clowns.
This is a brilliant charity. Now, I'd never heard of this, and my wife Jenny and I actually happened across these guys. They were in the entry to our local Carrefour branch last year, and just with a stand and hopefully looking for donations. So we got talking to them, and the more I know about them, the more impressed I get. They are a Spanish charity. Um, to be fair, helping mainly Spanish children,
Yeah,
and they what they actually do is they make hospital visits to poorly children, many of them terminally ill children, in the hospitals of Malaga, dressed in full clown
right.
outfits.
Lovely.
So they go in there and they have this saying that life is nothing without a smile, and they try to bring smiles to the faces of these children who are in sometimes desperate situations.
Sure.
And yeah, and they put on shows as well. and they're just great, just great. And there are only, I think, 4 or 5 of them, maybe 6 of them. But they go around, as I say, to hospitals and just put a smile on the faces of these poor children.
Okay, Alan. We're going to just take a look at just very briefly at the amounts that you've raised. We'll keep the total unless people, have got a kind of Einstein thing for counting as we go along. Um, but really, I think you'll see how this has developed um, over the time that you've been doing this for charities. So, what have we got here? Let me just get this in the center. So, the first one you've got is March 2021,
Mm.
the Donkey Dreamland, um, the Food Fairies in April, May Last Chance, and we've heard about what some of these charities are doing. Kodeka, um, Age Concern, Search, Adana, the Animal Shelter in Estepona. We've got Aged Care Calaonda. Hi, Leslie, Jim, and all of you if you're listening in as well. The clowns. This is the clowns charity, isn't it?
Yes, it is. Yeah.
€425. Adintre, which you've spoken about, the Butterfly Children, International Red Cross. Wow, that was that was some amount, Alan, for even for 2 months, isn't it?
Yeah, a lot of it depends on the number of walks that I'm able to do. During a set period, and also, to be honest, the demand for them varies across the year. So I try to keep that balance, so that the tours are largely, thankfully, they're largely fully booked.
Yeah. And then September, October for Search, again, another €1,150. So for all you smart folks out there that are trying to count all this up, Alan, the total that you have raised for charities, were you surprised? €6,743. It's really an incredible amount. And this, I don't know how many kilometers you walked to raise this.
Well, actually, it's interesting. I will work that out one of these days, but only on the last but one Mijas walking tour, somebody actually clocked it, and it was 4.6 kilometers.
Right.
So one of
So
these days, I'll count up how many tours I've done over these last 18, 19 months and work out the total mileage. Yeah.
yeah, so you probably get good miles to the gallon then, yeah?
I think so. But I've just got to say, I mean, it's great. Obviously, that I'm associated with that amount of money, and the Mijas Walking Tours has developed such a great reputation for the charity
Hmm.
work that it does. But hats off to every single person that's ever come on the walk.
Yeah,
Um, and especially in the early days when the reputation wasn't really there, and but people trusted me to come on it and then give
yeah,
donations, and as I've said, the average donation is somewhere between €10 and €12.50. But some people, and it always brings a tear to my eye, some people have given as much as €50.
right.
Probably usually because they have either experience with or an affinity to that particular charity that the
Sure.
Mijas Walking Tours are raising for in that period. So, as I say, if anyone who has ever been on a walking tour with me, thank you ever so much, because I know it's a corny thing to say, but without you, none of this money would have been raised.
And what I would like to highlight as well, Alan, I mean, I think the generosity of people is actually it's quite humbling to see how generous people are in supporting charities, and they're getting something for this as well, which is nice. But actually, when you look at all this huge list of charities that you've been involved in raising finances for, thinking about all of the volunteers that work in all of these charities as well.
Yeah.
I can be a bit cynical about people sometimes, and But, when I look at it from this perspective, there are a lot of good people out there doing things just because it's the right thing for them to do. They're not doing it for financial gain. They're giving up their time, their expertise, their energy. And if I know a lot of volunteers that they're giving up their money as well because they're buying things here and there and not sort of charging it to the charity. So, you've actually opened the Pandora's box there a little bit on all of the people who are actually contributing to so many of these charities.
Yeah, absolutely right, Bill. I mean, the world is full of selfless people who are prepared to give up their time and their talent to help people in need, or animals in need, or charities in need, or whatever. And they largely go unheralded. I mean, obviously they're appreciated by the individual charities that they're working for. But as far as the world at large is concerned, they are the faceless heroes as far as I'm concerned. So I hope that one of the spin-offs of the walking tours and the publicity that people like you very kindly give them is that people will be encouraged to either donate to any of these charities, or come on the walks, or or indeed go and volunteer in these various charities, because it's very, very important. And it's an obvious thing to say that without volunteers, virtually none of these charities will be able to continue.
Yeah, and I'll just put this up just now. If people want to find out about them, Alan, if they go onto Facebook and just type in Mijas Walking Tours, you keep everything up to date there about which tours you're doing and if there are any places available. And I think the important thing is that you're not charging a fee to do this. It's essentially a donation, and it will always be going to some very worthwhile and worthy cause.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, essentially and technically, it's a free tour. It's a free
Sure.
tour.
Yeah.
So, if anybody wanted to come on it and then walk away and say, thank you, that was very good, then they can. But as you say, I asked for a donation of €5, and obviously hope that people are impressed enough and can afford enough to give a little more than that.
Well, it's the price of a couple of coffees, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah, it is. It is. Well, and as I say, if you look on the Facebook page, either Mijas Walking Tours, or go to my personal page, Alan Boardman. Then at the end of every tour, I do put a photograph of the
Yeah.
group from that day and the amount that's been raised and the running total, and every single cent goes towards the charity which is being supported during that period.
You mean you don't even take a sort of little bit off for shoe leather?
No, I mean, it might sound corny, but sometimes, not always, depending on time. But if it's a smaller group, we get time to stop for a coffee on the way around, and I'm even loath to take the price of that, to be quite honest with you. Although some people do insist.
Yeah. Alan, well, what can I say? Congratulations. I think you're doing a wonderful thing, and there's so many um, good charities out there. We call them charities, but they're really a type of service. Whether it's a service to people or service to animals, it doesn't really matter. They're providing a community service, and what you're doing, may make a very small dent in the running costs for a month or a year or whatever, but it's the fact that you're doing it that
Mm.
matters. And that all of that money that's raised is going to be put to good use regardless of the charity that it's going to. So Alan, I can't speak on behalf of Mijas Council because I'm just an opposition councillor, but I think I can speak on behalf of the community because I work a lot in the community and just say thank you for what you're doing and keep it up.
Yeah, well, the nice thing is that I love what I do. I
Yeah.
love what I do, and the fact that people are learning about their municipality, and as you say, at the same time helping charities. I mean, everybody wins. It's just a win-win-win all the way around. Just if I just quickly say, Bill, we run these tours throughout the year, except for January and July and August when it's really too hot. I mean, I did an extra one at the end of July because so many people were asking me to do one, and I really and they regretted it because it was just
Yeah.
really too hot and humid. Yeah, but it's a 3 hour tour around the historical center of Mijas. Um, as I say, most of the tours book up, thankfully, which is great for the charities. There are tours available throughout November. The first one, which is on the 3rd, is booked up because I never take more than an absolute maximum of 12 people. That's
Yeah.
actually quite important to say because beyond that it gets a little bit unwieldy and takes time for people to catch up and that kind of a thing.
Sure.
But if people are interested as a result of this interview, go to my Facebook page, Alan Boardman, or to Mijas Walking Tours, and you'll see a full list of the available tours throughout November. So if you want to book, there are instructions there on how you can do that.
Alan, thank you so much. It's a pleasure to get a chance to sit down and talk to you finally.
Yeah, great. Loved it, Bill. Thank you very much. And
Um,
also, I know that everyone appreciates everything that you're doing as a counsellor for Mijas.
Thank you very much, Alan. We'll speak soon, hopefully. Thank you once again. Everyone who's joined in this evening, we're almost there, so have a great weekend when it comes. Oh, I should perhaps just say that on Sunday, Ace have a kind of open day market. The price of admission is that's Ace on the Cala Golf Road. Price of admission is a bag of dog or cat food or a tin of dog or cat food.
I love that. I love that. Yeah.
And then in the afternoon, Roberto's Sports Bar is actually also having another thing, I think, to support Micas Felina, and it's like €5 for a plate of paella, and you might need to buy your drink, I don't know, but €5 for a plate of paella sounds good, and that's in the sort of Calypso area, Roberta's Sports Bar, just to mention those things. Alan,
Brilliant.
thank you very much. Absolute pleasure to speak to you again, and we shall be back next week with Mario Bravo filling us in on the daring do of the council meeting, which is due to take place next Wednesday. Thank you, Alan. Good night, everyone.
Cheers, Bill. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye now.
Bye.